Good morning, fellow lifelong learners. So today's the day that I want to do the Q&A. I announced it about 3 days ago. So now's your chance to ask me any sort of questions that you would like, either about reading, about books, about habits. So go ahead and ask any sort of question right here, and I will get to the first 30 people who ask. Thank you. Great first question. So I definitely need to read more of the same author, but so far from the authors that I've read more than one book, I would say Ryan Holiday. He's a solid writer. Fantastic second question here. So it all starts with one. Second Chance by Robert Kiyosaki was the first nonfiction book that I had ever read. You see my bookshelf back here. It all started with one right here. So you can definitely start a bookstagram account, a nonfiction bookstagram account. Just start with one book and build from there. You can post some quotes, you can talk about the book, you can, if you feel comfortable enough, you can make some videos, and then from there you can just build up and start reading some other books and start posting about those. So just start from one and you can do it. Fantastic third question. So first of all, I want to start out by saying actually reading any sort of book about like writing or public speaking is actually going to really help you out. So even like how to write a book, or on writing well, or how to write short can actually help you out with your public speaking game. But the ones that are specifically about public speaking, this was the first one that I read, TED Talks by Chris Anderson. It gives a great introduction to public speaking. And another one, which is actually a marketing book, but it deals with stories, is Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. So that's another good one to check out. And The Storyteller's Secret by Carmine Gallo is amazing because it really dives into how to tell a story and how to connect well with your audience. As you can see, my background has changed, but that's okay. So great fourth question here, and it can be very difficult for a lot of people to stay focused through a book. So the first suggestion I have for you is to make sure to pick the right book in the first place. And you can do that by looking at the table of contents and checking whether this is actually going to be interesting for you. Maybe browse through the introduction and maybe the conclusion of the book and see, is that content actually worthwhile for you to read at this moment? And a lot of time we also find that when we get into a book that we're actually interested in the first place, it ends up being quite dull or scientific or anything like that. So we have to make sure to set a reading goal per day for at least maybe 10 pages. And if you stick to that, you can get through any book no matter how dry. Top two favorite books about habits that I've read so far is The Power of Habit and The Atomic Habits, which is an amazing book. If you have not read it yet, definitely read both. Seriously, great questions here. So I absolutely love Atomic Habits, Think and Grow Rich, The 4 Agreements, and Man's Search for Meaning. Top self-development books. Awesome seventh question. I know I keep on coming back to this book, but Atomic Habits had a huge impact on me. It's very tangible, it's very practical. It has really improved my productivity. Eighth question. Great question here. Now, as for the first part of the question, I'm going to be answering that in a whole IGT video separate from this. As for the second part of the question, I recommend trying to read the whole book through, unless you absolutely hate the book. Only in certain situations you're going to stop a book. Otherwise, just try to finish it, because you never know what's going to be in the end of the book. Who knows? The most important takeaway might be in the end. So read it all the way through. On certain parts of the book that you feel are a bit dry, maybe start skimming a little bit, reading a bit faster, and not paying too close attention unless you come across a line that's like, oh, I really like this idea, so I'm going to stick with it, read it. So definitely finish the book if you can. To be honest, I haven't read too much about this topic, but a couple book suggestions for you would be Getting to Yes by William Ury, also Never Split the Difference, and also Robert Cialdini is perfect for persuasion. He's got a couple books called Influence and Persuasion. So any of those books that will help you with your persuasion skills or negotiation skills will be great to read. Also work on your communication skills. So any book to do with communication is great. So yeah, definitely start reading any of those. So no matter what your working schedule is, you can definitely find time to read, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And also you've got your morning time, maybe you can get up a little bit earlier. And you've also got your evening and night time. So like per day, you could read 15 to 1 hour. You could even read more if you have more time or less. As long as you're doing it consecutively every day, you're going to make a big difference in your life. There are really so many different ways you could post daily about books. So you could take your thoughts about what you've read that day and post a little video about it or turn it into a quote. You could also show pictures of book stacks or your bookshelf of different categories of books that you feel like are beneficial. I mean, just think creatively about how you can post about the book and do it in a format where people can actually enjoy and most importantly, learn from it. Hey, y'all, just got done with a swim. So that's a very tough question because, well, there are so many great books out there and it depends on what you want to improve on. But I would say my favorite book this year has been Atomic Habits, and I've mentioned this many times in the previous questions. So that is the one that I'm going to go with because it has helped me in a very practical way. I've been able to improve my habits, whether it's about writing. So I've been trying to write every single day. Yes, sometimes I miss, but I mean, I'm definitely solid on the habit and it's going to grow. And with my reading habit, it has been strong since I started reading in 2015. But since reading that book, it has increased a whole lot because I understand habits a lot better. So Atomic Habits, you gotta read it. Question number 13. Do I prefer ebooks or physical books? I definitely prefer physical books, although I am starting to see the benefit of ebooks and how easy it is to actually transfer the notes from the ebook itself, whether I'm reading it on my phone or whether I'm reading it on my Kindle, over to my notes. I mean, it's just a simple copy paste. Whereas the physical book, you actually have to either type it in or you do a voice to text, which I've been doing a lot lately. So that's fairly easy. And also, I tend to always buy the books because I like to support the author and the publisher. I do listen to some free audio books on YouTube, but that's a bit different, and that's not even part of your question. So, physical books because I love the smell of the page. It's also a kinesthetic type of thing. Question 14. The two favorite books that I always refer to again and again are The Storyteller's Secret, anytime before I do a public speaking gig, and also The Four Agreements because I feel like that is a very mindfulness book. Question 15, halfway there. So, is our book, the type of books that we read, related to our personality? Yes, I believe it's related to our personality. Also, it's related to our interests and also our skills too. Like when we're reading non-fiction books, we want to improve certain skills. So we read those types of books that will improve that particular type of skill. If we're outgoing, we might read books about stillness or different types of activities. If we're introverted, we might read books that will help us to come out more, to help us to relate to people more, to communicate better. So it really all depends on your personality and your interests and also your talents and skills and lack thereof. Well, I'm always trying to think of new and different ways to put my content out there, whether it be about my own personal thoughts about a particular topic or whether it be just a takeaway from a book, whether it's video format or a picture. I am always trying to stretch my own personal skills. That way I can help you guys to learn from what I am personally reading and doing. And so the first thing I always think when I produce content is, how's this going to help you out? I'm not just going to produce a piece of content just because I think it's cool. I want to produce a piece of content so that you can learn a lot from it. And yes, it is based around my personal interests, but the number one goal for Bookmatic is to inspire people to read more nonfiction books and get the most out of what they read. That's why I'm saying hack. You're getting deep here with question number 17. Well, why not do both, actually? So I would actually prefer to read 30 to 50 books because, if you're reading the books that no one else is reading, then you're getting an advantage over a lot of the other people out there that are not reading those books. And then if you find one book or two books or three books that are really, really beneficial, then go over those books deeply and read them, analyze them, apply the things in your life. So to answer your question, I would do both. I don't know if that's cheating, but I'm going to say both, okay? Question number 18. So I would say in the morning and in the early afternoon are great times for me personally, but it all depends on you. Like, what's comfortable for you? When is the best time when you're not extremely busy? And also in the early evening for me, like this time, it's like 6:30. You can find a time where no interruptions are going to happen to you, and also a comfortable place. Like, I like reading up here in my office because there's no one else here, and so I can get some really focused work in, or a nice sofa, or like even a cafe where the noise is not too loud. It's okay if there's some chatter, but as long as no one's like talking in my ear, I'm fine with that. Or absolutely silent library or bookstore with some coffee. Question 19. Usually 2 to 4 books depending on the thickness of the book and how much time I've been able to put into reading during that month. Question 20. So I always get this question and I always say, that really depends on what you want to work on. Because when you're reading nonfiction books, it's specifically to work on something. So go ahead and DM me and we can chat. Well, definitely thank you so much. That brings a big smile to my face, and I hope that I can continue to help you guys out. Feel free and DM me at any time and I will respond ASAP. Question 21. Very good question here. So psychology books, I absolutely love them, especially if they're talking about, how to get into people's head, marketing, persuasion. So Robert Cialdini, and I mentioned him earlier today, he's got this great book called Influence and also Persuasion. And there's also a book called Contagious by Jonah Berger, and that was amazing too. Like, really dips into how our minds work and how we buy stuff. And what's another one here? The Laws of Human Nature really learns how we really work, how our brains work, and how we act around each other and how we act alone. And another one would be, let's see here, Man's Search for Meaning. I mentioned that one earlier. That's a good psychology book. That's about it. Question 22. So when I first read Start With Why back in 2017, I believe it was, I absolutely loved it because I had not read anything like it before. And it really helped direct my direction with Bookmatic and also just my inner self, like finding my purpose, like what the heck am I here on this earth to do? So when I first read it, it was great. Since then, my perception about it has kind of changed because I realized that we can't just start with why. Like, why is only one little piece of the puzzle. We also have to take action on our why, and the book really doesn't tell you how to take action on your why. And factfulness was actually a very eye-opening book. A lot of it, though, I already knew, but I believe that... Good morning, fellow lifelong learners. For question number 23, I definitely appreciate my followers so much. I mean, you know, there are like 12,000 plus of you, and so sometimes it's very hard to keep track of who's there, but I will always do my best to like answer comments, answer DMs. I mean, I'm always here to basically serve you. It's nothing selfish. I'm trying to be as selfless as possible. So I hope this answers your question, and I definitely appreciate you guys, and I hope that you also appreciate the content that I put out there for you. Thank you so much. Yes, the most recent one was Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell, and I just couldn't connect with it. It just wasn't benefiting me, and I usually don't stop books, but I had to stop this. I personally like anything to do with psychology or communication. Definitely that's a big interest of mine, and I don't really like investing books personally because I'm not really interested in the topic. The first thing is always the title and the cover, but of course recommendations by others and reviews is like the next step. I like to look at the table of contents and the blurb and try to do some research before I buy the book. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like these. Also follow my other social media accounts such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for more valuable content. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you guys next time.